Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of the Game Groofs podcast, the all-encompassing weekly gaming podcast from us, the Goodnight Groofs. My name is Matt, and today I'm joined by Mike and Paul. No Josh this evening, but he will hopefully be back next week. Gentlemen, we're going to jump right into this thing. Instead of asking you how you're doing this week, I want to ask everyone what their peak of the week has been. What's the best thing that happened to you this week, Paul?
Hey, all right. Well, you know what? I did not think about this ahead of time because, I like to be nice and prepared. I have preparations for every other question that we're coming up with. But I will tell you, peak of the week was actually just after a recording last week on Friday. It was my anniversary with Rachel. It was our 4-year anniversary of dating, which was fun. And we had a nice little time, really low key. We just we ordered from our favorite Italian restaurant, pizza, pasta. We watched some Harry Potter, watched Goblet of Fire, but we watched it. And that was fun. And we just had a nice little time. It was a nice day. So yeah, that was probably my peak of my week. Nothing crazy happened this week, but it was nice to just kind of chill out and also eat from our favorite restaurant, which was good.
Well, congratulations, and
thank you.
This has been sort of the last couple of weeks an ongoing discussion on Replay as far as the Harry Potter watching that you guys are doing. Which one are you on now?
So we should be on Half-Blood Prince, but we've really kind of slowed down. Rachel and I had this little more ire, especially from you guys, but we had a nice talk in the car yesterday about how just on rewatch, I always didn't like the movies, but Rachel's like, the movies kind of suck. That was kind of so there you go.
Wow.
So we were kind of having a nice talk about that. I'm sure we could go on for a long period of time. I don't think they objectively. Well, anyway, the point is, after that we've kind of slowed down. So I will get around. We will get around to finishing them. I am excited. But yeah, it's mostly making me want to go do a book read. So
book watch.
I might a book watch. So we'll see. But if I get around to that, but hopefully I do. I'm hoping within the next year I can kind of go through that series again at some point or another, because I think I'll have a nicer time doing that.
I will say, I know you raised concerns about reading Deathly Hallows because you haven't read the books in forever, and that's the only one you haven't read. I hadn't read 1 through 6 in a really long time, and I just did a rewatch of the movies and then read Deathly Hallows. It was fine. You don't need to go back through it. It's fine.
I know I don't need to, but I want to have that relationship with the characters, and I feel like the movie characters are not the book characters at all, and so I want to be able to go through and remember all those little hints and little Easter eggs and stuff I'm going to pick up in the book to enjoy it properly, especially because it's my first time.
Fair enough. Mike, what's the best thing that happened to you this week, sir?
Probably, Josh calling off of Game Groofs. That was pretty nice. But in all honesty,
I'm from Mike, baby.
My peak of the week hasn't happened yet. I'm going on vacation on Saturday, going to Vegas to have some fun. So should be a good time. And yeah, it hasn't happened yet, which is really weird. You got vacation for me. It's super stressful up until I actually get there.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying. So I'm in the really annoying, stressed out stage. I gotta go get a haircut and do some things around the house before I leave. So clean out my car. Yeah.
All the fun stuff. Actually, we just did that today. We did a nice car clean out. Boy, is that just a boring job. That is the worst job.
Yeah.
Mike, don't get too wild out there in Sin City, all right? We need you to come back healthy and safe and all that kind of good stuff.
Not gonna get wild, don't worry.
Are you gonna see a magic show?
I'm thinking about it. We don't have tickets yet, but that'll be a decide to do it, go do it. It's kind of spur of the moment type thing.
There's a lot of stuff in Vegas that you can just do spontaneously. There's just so much happening there.
They have to, because everyone's so completely plastered the entire time or just fucked up on something. They want to make it accessible so you could just walk into anything. Oh, there's a show. Let's walk in. Because no one's planned anything. And if they did, they're not making it on time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
This is my I'm saying based on movies and television shows. I've never been to Vegas. This is completely not based in reality for me.
I will say Vegas is like the one place that's actually pretty accurately represented in movies and TV.
So yeah.
As far as my pick of the week, it was probably finishing the Far Cry 6 review, which you can check out right now on the YouTube channel.
Shadow drop.
With my getting back into the workforce next week, I'm not sure how often I'll be able to be doing reviews going forward, so I wanted to make sure I got that Far Cry review out there. Finally, I'd been talking it up for so long. It's finally there. You can go view it, and hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you agree with me. If you don't, let me know in the comments, but don't be too mean about it. Or be mean. I don't care. I don't care. Just don't put a dislike on it. That's all I ask. Honorable mention would be to getting Medieval. Came in the mail today.
In the mail.
I bought a physical disc. First time since I bought Horizon Zero Dawn physical, I think. I have 2 physical games. I have Horizon Zero Dawn and Final Fantasy 15 for PS4. And now I have Medieval, which is a game I've been wanting to play for a while. I was hoping it would go on sale sometime in October. It hasn't yet, so I just said, okay, I'm just going to buy it on Amazon, physical, half price. I'll do it. It's fine. But I also got Pumpkin Jack, which is the spiritual successor. That did go on sale today, and PS Plus members, it's only like $13. So I played it last year on PC, streamed the whole thing. I beat it in one day. It was just a one-sitting sort of thing. It was like 8 hours. But now I'll platinum it on PlayStation, so I'm excited about that.
Love to see it. You trophy hunter, you.
I know. Let's get into trending topics. In trending topics, I give our panelists a choice between 3 search terms. They have to tell me which term they think got the most searches over the last 7 days via stats from Google Trends. We'll play 3 quick rounds. All right, I went a little Halloween themed with this.
All right.
Round 1. Dead Space, Silent Hill, or Resident Evil?
Resident Evil.
Yeah, I gotta go Resident Evil.
You're both correct. It is Resident Evil. All right.
Got that movie coming out.
Yeah.
They do?
There's a new movie
that,
coming out.
yeah.
one,
That's
yeah.
I did see that trailer. Yeah, not great.
No Jovovich.
What?
Is she not?
Actually-
Isn't she not?
No, she's not in it, but
Yeah,
it's like
there you
actually
go.
based on the games.
Yeah, there's no Jovovich.
She was in the
So
old
yeah.
ones, right?
Who wants it?
Yes.
Yeah. Filmed in
Who wants it?
Toronto.
I want it.
Whatever happened to her Monster Hunter movie? That came out. I don't.
pretend it didn't.
I don't think
Let's
it did.
pretend it didn't.
Yeah, let's I think it got better reviews than Warcraft, and that's what I'm talking about. Well, okay, we're not. We won't get into it. All right, round 2. Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, or Jason Voorhees?
Myers.
Jason Voorhees.
Michael Myers.
Fuck.
Halloween Kills just came out.
Oh, fuck. You're right. It did. Just days ago.
Round 3. Halloween candy, vampires, or pumpkins?
God.
Pumpkins.
Andy.
It was pumpkins.
People are looking for where they can buy their pumpkin.
All right, you guys tied.
That makes sense.
Tied
We
game
tied.
1.
Beautiful. Even though apparently, according to Matt, trending topics doesn't count as a real game in
Yeah,
the
not a real game.
when we're talking about who swept the show. So write in. That is gamegroofs@gmail.com. Let us know. I think it is a real game.
See, until I have another opener like this that I rotate in, I don't count it as a real game. But I'll come up with another opener and we can start counting it.
Mm-hmm.
But for future super fans listening to the backlog of the episodes, you can start counting trending topics as a real game because in the future it will. It just isn't yet. If that makes any sense.
Once I stop losing, that's what you're gonna do. Once I start losing all the time. Then
But
you'll
you can
do it.
retroactively count wins and losses. We'll do that.
Yeah, I'm counting it.
All right. The big question. On Monday, Phil Spencer told the Wall Street Journal that Xbox has no interest in virtual reality, saying that they're solely focused on software right now. Here's a direct quote from Spencer. I think that the hardware innovation that's happening is great and it's an important enabler, but right now I'm deciding to stay more in the software side of that enablement. I believe it will scale better in the long run. Meanwhile, Xbox Game Pass did not hit its subscriber growth goals. From Axios, for the 12 months that ended on June 30th, Xbox Game Pass subscriber growth was up 37%, but the company had set a 48% growth goal. In the company's prior fiscal year, which ran mid-2019 through mid-2020, Game Pass subs were up 86%, exceeding a target of 71%. The most recent confirmed subscriber count is 20 million from this past June. Now, because they blew past their goals in 2019 and halfway through 2020, largely helped by the pandemic and quarantine, I think it's fair to say that not hitting those lower expectations in the next year is no surprise, and there's probably some diminishing returns at play there. However, if Xbox is going to be all in on software, you'd hope that their projected software goals can be hit. Now today, Matt Booty from Xbox told Kinda Funny Games that they want to make their own blockbuster games with iconic characters and worlds that PlayStation has come to be known for. So here's the question. Is Xbox's software strategy working, or do you think it's looking like it will work in the near future at least? And could more software success lead us to a place in a future generation where Xbox becomes more of a store or service rather than a physical box? Now, this is something that I brought up on replay earlier today when we were recording. I feel that there's potential in the future, maybe even next generation, where they ditch the box. It's more like a dongle or an app on televisions, that sort of thing. And they're really sort of becoming more like a store or a service, maybe expanding Game Pass to have, a catalog of games within the subscription, but maybe they're also selling games on Game Pass, creating a store out of it. I want to know what you guys have to think about this before I get too much into it. So let's go to you, Mike. Let's get your thoughts on Xbox's software strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's working. I think that missing your targets, who cares? It's not like it fell on its face. Working in corporate America, people miss targets all the time. Like, especially like big product launches, they miss their targets. Missing targets isn't the end of the world. What is important is the fact that they're still experiencing growth that's significant and not noise. And I think for the next year, they're going to have better offerings on Game Pass that will actually like spur more subscribers. I think this year was kind of slow. They had so at E3 everything was experienced at day one on Game Pass, but nothing really released this year for it. Like Forza Horizon isn't out. Halo isn't out. Their stuff isn't out yet.
Right.
Back 4 Blood was like the biggest thing that came out that was at E3 that I can think of. Maybe 12 Minutes was also on there. I think there were some other games, but like nothing huge. So I don't think this is anything. This says more about their content lineup and less about their software, which I think their content lineup is going to get much better next year. Whenever Starfield comes out, I think that's when it's going to be huge. And yeah, I think Phil Spencer has kind of started the nail in the coffin in terms of their hardware. Microsoft's been taking L's on their hardware for a decade. At some point, they're gonna say enough is enough and stop taking L's on it, because who cares about the box? It's not about the box anymore. I don't think anyone's sitting here saying, damn, I really want an Xbox. I don't know anyone that is saying that. I have one, and I'm just like, it's fine.
Right.
If PlayStation had a similar thing that was like Game Pass for PC, but for PlayStation games, I think you would see the exact same thing going on. I think you would see people saying, I'll just get it for my PC. Like, I don't need a PlayStation to play PlayStation games, but the problem is with PlayStation, you need a PlayStation to play them at the moment. So I think Xbox doesn't care about hardware anymore. I think they took L's on their consoles the last 2 generations. I think they took HoloLens was nothing.
Yet.
Like they don't care about VR.
Yeah.
I doubt they care about AR at this point. Like
Yeah.
they just want to make money, and the best way to make money is software.
I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a box again, like you're saying. That is probably my official position that I'll take on this. I think even though Microsoft is massive and literally one of the biggest companies in the entire world, you can only produce so many things at a loss. And we know that Game Pass is running at a loss right now. Like, that's a fact, and it's probably going to for another 5, 6, maybe 7 years until it evolves in some way or just gets to a point where they start eventually making money because they have so many subscribers. It's hard to have both that and a console, which runs at a loss, happening simultaneously. Like, those are two big, massive flagship products that are running at a loss. You can't really have both happening at the same time in your games division. Otherwise, Microsoft is going to be like, all right, we gotta make some choices here for Xbox. We can't do both of these things. As far as the software, it's a case, like Mike was saying. The big hitters are still on the horizon. I'll have to wait and see to believe it when everything actually comes and is successful or not. They were so bad on the software side of things at the end of the 360 and all of the Xbox One that it's hard to...
Hey, the Xbox One software got extremely good. It was only like the very beginning where there was hiccups. Most of Xbox One, that's Phil Spencer coming in, just totally shifted the company. They all introduced a ton of fan features. They had a whole system where people could vote for their favorite stuff they wanted added. And by the end of it, they had better software features than PlayStation.
I mean the games. I mean like the Xbox
very
original
different
games.
Sorry, when you said software, I assumed you meant like, because I think the console software
no,
is far
like
and away
the
better
console
than-
OS, I have no issues with. It was fine.
Yeah.
I mean the actual games.
Yeah, content. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's sort of just, we're in a situation where it's hard to trust what they're promising, although there are very promising things. We don't, like Redfall, for example, we only have a CG trailer. We don't know anything about it. Starfield, I mean, hopefully it's great, but the latest thing...
Starfield's gonna sell. It doesn't matter if it's good.
I think it does matter if it's good or not for future... I don't know. I think it does.
As long as it's not unplayable, it doesn't matter. As long as it's not Cyberpunk 2077, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
That is the bar.
Yeah, as long as it can be as good as like fucking Fallout 76, this thing will blow everything away.
I think it helps.
It has to be better than 76.
Yeah.
I think it will help Game Pass no matter what, but I don't know if but if it's not good, it's not going to help Bethesda, especially coming off of Fallout 76.
No. What does Bethesda
Absolutely
care
not,
though? I'm just saying, like, we're talking about
it'll
Game
help
Pass.
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking about trust in future products. That's why I was referencing that. As far as Game Pass, Halo Infinite, at least temporarily, is going to grow subs. People are going to sub for the campaign when they can get it for the $10, $12, whatever Game Pass is right now, instead of paying for $60 for the campaign.
Yeah, 100%.
So that'll help. And then, like you said, I think you were right. Starfield is going to be sort of that first one that's really going to bring more people to Game Pass. And then I think they're going to try to line things up so after Starfield, every month you got a big hitter coming, and that will certainly help Game Pass. But I wonder, is Game Pass, like, how big can it get? Can it get big enough to be profitable? That's the big question. Nobody really knows. We know right now it definitely isn't, and they have 20 million subscribers. So what's it gonna take? I don't know. Paul, let's get your thoughts on some of this stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting point. Yeah, we've been talking for years about Microsoft. They've been acquiring these studios. We've been waiting for this thing. When's Microsoft going to have exclusives? When is Microsoft going to match the Sony library? I think we are. I mean, they have so many studios working on so many major projects here. We have people posting all the time, fanboy subreddits, on Xbox, posting all of these like 25 plus like amazing sounding games all in the pipeline. Something's gonna have to start coming out.
Right.
They can't just be sitting around on their hands for the next 5 years and then just declare Xbox was a failure. Like, it's not gonna happen. These games are gonna start going out. This is gonna pay off. It's just development cycles are so much longer than they used to be. This is going to take them a while. But that being said, I think, like you said, in the next 5 to 6 years, I think we're going to start seeing game after game, like hit after hit after hit, start coming to Game Pass, and Xbox in general. But of course, Game Pass day one is like their big selling feature. Speaking about like profitability, I think the issue with Game Pass is like you said, having a console and having Game Pass is interesting. It seems like they maybe want to shift their business to Game Pass, but the problem is to make something like that work. As it stands, you need hardware that can run it. And so I think the original thing here is like, and again, we talked about this earlier about like backwards engineering, like the idea of like showing others how to do, like instead of coming out as like a product like the Surface line or like Google's Nexus line or something and being like, hey, here's what we think. We're not going to hope to sell a lot of these, but we just want to show you how we think you should be making, Xbox service, like Xbox boxes or something, right?
Sounds like a Steam box.
Yeah, this is kind of like a reverse engineering as well, right? Where they're like, okay, well, you know what? We want to make this Game Pass service, but right now, all we have is a bunch of boxes in people's houses. So we're going to use those boxes to run the games that are on Game Pass until eventually, cross our fingers, with fiber and with low latency and with like the new infrastructure in the next 5 to 10 years, we can stream it all and we don't need the boxes anymore. And then who cares about paying $60 for a game on the store? You just have all your games in a service. It's the Netflix of games. Done. We're making, $20 a month or something, and people are willing to pay it because they can download the Xbox app on their smart TV or whatever the fuck, your fridge or whatever weird thing you want to use it on. And it'll work. But yeah, I think we have to wait for that magic streaming future for it to be profitable. Even then, I think like the server costs and things are questionable. I mean, it's Microsoft, but still, I don't know. But I think that's what the issue we're running into right now is what you were saying, right? Where we have we have like two different businesses: a business selling hardware that's trying to sell individual games, and a business that's trying to create this and launch this streaming service and cloud service and getting your mobile phone to play Xbox and your PC to play Xbox and maybe your PlayStation, maybe your Nintendo to play Xbox. Like eventually. You're Nintendo. I sound like a 90-year-old man, but in general, I think that's kind of the business plan here, working backwards from the boxes into maybe the Netflix of gaming. But I think it's going to take some major shifting in technology, again, like in terms of network infrastructure, to really properly pull that off, because I don't think it's going to work without streaming.
I do wonder if they consider the idea of a Game Pass box a failed initiative because the Series S hasn't sold the way that they wanted it to, and that very clearly was marketed as a Game Pass box. Does it need to be cheaper? I think it does. If I think they should have gone all in instead of having an S that is, what it is. They should have gone all in, made a cheaper box that is essentially dedicated to Game Pass and built for streaming for people who could do that sort of thing.
The tech isn't there. As someone who like really likes Xbox cloud streaming, and like I've liked the initiative and I've played with it, and it's definitely one of the cleaner streaming apps and services I've used. Especially on like something where they're on an iPhone or something, or on iOS, where you have to like run it in a browser, but they've come up with all these ways to kind of make it like a full screen app. There's latency. Even if you're plugged in, even if you're using your best stuff, there's still some latency. There's still issues with dropping. It's not perfect. Like you said a million times, Matt, the Xbox app, even on PC, is like still a beta. It's just not ready. The streaming's really cool. It's awesome that it's a feature. It's awesome that it's included with your Game Pass subscription. I think it's cool that it's a fun, I think they're still using the term beta for that. I think it's cool, but ultimately it's not ready. And I think it would have been a huge mistake to launch like $100 stick or something that's going to run those things streaming. And I don't think you can get much cheaper, honestly, to make a game. The Series S is like mighty powerful for $300. Like, I think it would be hard to, like, they'd be hemorrhaging money trying to make anything that can play games on it in 2021 cheaper than that.
Well, but here's my question. Even if it wasn't ready, if the tech isn't there yet, would it have been worth the risk to try it rather than put out the Series S, which really isn't making waves at all anyway? Why not put out something somewhat experimental and say, listen, this might not be ready yet?
If it goes out and fails, then the next time they try it, people aren't going to trust it.
Yep.
You lose like a lot of your trust and credibility when you release a product that fails.
It's the Apple thing, right? Get safe. Wait a super long time until you know it's going to do well, and then fucking throw it out the door like way late. But at least it's like going to be the top of its category, right? I think look at all the Stadia, blowback. from that not being a ready service and being Google's like all in on gaming, and a lot of hype around that. And people were pretty pissed because, that was their only experience. It's not like you could get a Stadia console and then also streaming's a fun little beta add-on like an Xbox. It was like, you buy this dongle or whatever, you play Stadia, and oh, lo and behold, it was a waste of money because it barely works for a lot of people. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't work for everyone. I'm just saying, for the casual person grabbing it, it might not be a very clean experience, and you feel pretty bad after spending $100 to get that.
It's funny, when I was doing the Far Cry 6 review, I mentioned all the platforms that it's on, and
I heard you having a mouthful of platforms. So
Ubisoft puts their games on everything. I think they had some sort of deal with Stadia, so they're still putting games on Stadia. But I totally forgot that this was a thing. Far Cry is also on the Amazon Luna, which
yeah.
I completely forgot. It's never part of the conversation ever.
No.
Is it the same thing as Stadia?
Yeah.
I assume so. I didn't really even look into it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Same thing as Stadia. They did a good job making it browser-based earlier than Stadia did, which I think got Luna some good press, especially because you could run it like on an iOS device or something that doesn't allow game things like that. So that was kind of popular before a lot of other people were doing that. But yeah, very similar, except probably going to be more supported just because Amazon, I think, has a bit more of a history with supporting things that don't immediately work, unlike Google, who already is kind of basically throwing in the towel with Stadia, but kind of half-heartedly keeping it alive in classic Google fashion.
Yeah, I imagine a world where I just go into Amazon like today. I bought Medieval. Well, I bought it 2 days ago, but it shipped today. It came to my door. What if I could just type it in and have just played it on Luna right away?
Well, I mean,
it's a PlayStation game, but that's
I was gonna say it exists
example.
now. Go do it on PS Now. There you go, or PS Plus. Right? I mean, I think everyone has versions of that, right?
It's not on PS Now, is it? Did I say it was?
I don't know
Maybe it is
now, but it's very similar, right, to like a lot of these other things where and Xbox has that now too, right, where you can like start downloading, or you can start playing a game before it downloads. They're working on all that kind of stuff. That's coming. I think your thing was more that you just like wanted the physical discs because to get the deal.
Yeah, I got the deal.
It's on PS Now.
I thought it was.
There you go.
Yeah. The other game that I was looking for, Pumpkin Jack, wasn't, but I was able to buy it on sale.
Okay.
PS Now, very underrated. All right. Any final thoughts on this whole Xbox conversation?
My only thought was, and this is going to take and change the conversation away from what we were talking about.
That's fine.
Kind of. We talk about how Game Pass is going to eventually get profitable because they're going to get more users, but we haven't talked about the fact that what can Microsoft do with Game Pass once they have the number of users? Once you get a user base, can they leverage it similar to like an Epic store where they can say, hey, if you come and give us your game on Game Pass, give us they can leverage X% of the profits to make it profitable because, hey, you have access to this many copies being played, et cetera, et cetera.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I do as well. I think that would help them a lot in the long run. I mean, we see it's helping the Epic Store. They're getting exclusives and they're getting a lot of products that they...
Yeah, not in the same way.
No.
Well, I guess explain a little bit further what you're saying here then.
So Xbox goes to a developer and says, hey, give it to us as day one on Game Pass because we can guarantee that it gets to these people because this is a user base we have. Whereas Epic says, hey, here's a bunch of money. You're exclusive to us now.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's true. That is, and so you're talking, this would largely be for like indie developers or AA developers, right? Because the AAAs are going to be able to make the money doing it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
But it allows them to leverage their platform in a way that, other companies can't. They have this, like, they're growing a resource of subscription base, essentially guaranteed customers for games. Like, sure, people might not play your game, but they will download it because it's on Game Pass. Same way that people download games off Epic because they're free. Some people do it because, hey, free game. Some people do it out of spite because Epic has to pay for each copy. But yeah, so that's just a thought. Like it's more Game Pass to me is more of a long-term strategy and less of a we want to make money off of a streaming service or something like that. It feels like a 4D chess move and not just
Definitely.
we're making a streaming service. That's my only thought.
I think it would be great if they can do something like that to get more indies, because Xbox used to be the console of indies until it wasn't, until it was PlayStation. And they kind of took that over. And it would be really cool if that was a way to get indies back on Xbox.
It's already happening too. We're seeing so much time spent at Xbox, and so many great indies. I mean, I exclusively play a lot of great indies on Game Pass. There's like every other week, there's tons of stuff coming out. I'm not saying it's all exclusive or anything, but it is cool to see that on Game Pass day one or something, right? So when an indie comes out, I can play it, even if it maybe comes out on other consoles. I'm gonna be playing on Xbox because I don't have to pay $1 for it, which is great. I will say too, interesting that you mentioned that with service. I won't belabor the point, but it is interesting to look at like how game stream or movie streaming and movie post release comes out. It'd be interesting to see a strategy where, and not to like ape old technology stuff, like old school culture, but it's interesting to imagine maybe a game comes out day one for purchase, and then maybe like 30 to 60 days later, they go, hey, we're going to put that on Game Pass, and there's like deals to do that, right? So like, if you're patient, you can get it, but obviously people are still going to buy the game. There could be deals where that kind of thing happens. I mean, that already kind of happens, but maybe we kind of start like thinking of that as a regular thing that happens with Xbox games, or games in general, depending on how Microsoft makes deals. I don't know, but interesting to think that maybe it wouldn't be profitable to put your game on day one Game Pass for every developer, but it might work in a way where you could kind of time that and still rake in some money in the early days, like a box office kind of thing.
I like that.
Or
idea.
even flip it and have it exclusively on Game Pass for 90 days.
Yeah,
timed exclusive.
but no, you're still making the money later. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There are a million different avenues that they can go with this, and eventually, I think it goes back to they're going to have to make some decisions here because they can't keep operating everything at a loss. But but Xbox is doing some really interesting things, very consumer-friendly things, and that's only going to be good for the industry. Let's move on to a game. Let's play Name That Dev. Not Name That Game, but Name That Dev, the second time it's appearing on this show. In Name That Dev, I give the panelists up to 10 clues. The clues start off more vague and progressively get more specific. First panelist to guess the mystery game developer correctly wins. You only get one guess. If you're wrong, you're out. We take game developer suggestions from our $1 plus supporters over on Patreon at patreon.com/goodnightgroofs, where you can message us your suggestion. All right, gentlemen, are we ready?
Absolutely.
Born ready.
All right. Clue number 1. This developer opened in 1987. This developer's first game was Sky Chase. This developer's second game would go on to influence an entire genre. That game would also lead to a plethora of spin-offs. It was founded by a well-known developer with a background in mechanical engineering, but he ultimately left the company in 2009 and became a board member at Linden Lab in 2011, which is best known for Second Life. The studio was acquired by EA in 1997. Many people would say that this company's name exists within EA today only for brand recognition, as some of the studios were shut down or shuffled around. A failed action RPG from 2011 called Darkspore used technology that was initially developed for a previous game that this company had made.
The THQ?
It is not.
Fuck, okay.
All right, Mike.
Oof.
If Mike gets it, he wins. At the end, Paul, you can get another guess if he doesn't have a guess after the last clue.
All right.
This developer is best known for its simulation games.
Oh.
And the final clue. This company's flagship Life Sim series is wildly popular. Some people will put thousands of hours into them and play only these games.
I know. Damn it.
What? Oh, shoot.
Hopefully Mike doesn't remember the name. And then
Mike's got 5 seconds.
Fuck.
Time's
There's
up.
an X in it, right?
Yes, there
It's like
is.
something
Nexus.
Axios.
Maxis.
Maxis. Fuck. I was
Fuck.
like, I know there's an X. I don't know.
Oh man, you're talking about EA, and I should have known 2 Second Life too. Linden Labs. Fuck me. Damn, nice.
And who is that?
Okay.
Who is that well-known developer who founded it?
Is that Will Wright?
That is Will Wright.
Yeah.
That 2011 action RPG is called Dark Spore because it uses technology
based
from
on-
Spore.
Spore, which was a Will Wright project. Yep.
Yeah, Dark Spore was. It's crazy. I had never heard of it before I was looking
Me
up
neither.
stuff from Axis.
Me neither. Never heard of it.
Sounds interesting on paper, but
Just like Spore, but alas.
clearly didn't work.
Yep.
It's just like Spore.
But
Right.
darker.
monsters. Yeah.
Let's move over
That's
to the
neat.
water cooler. Let's take a quick break around the water cooler to discuss the games that we have been playing this week. Mike, open up Steam, go through the list. What have you been playing this week?
I mean, okay. So I played Back for Blood. We're all aware of that because I played with you guys. It
Yep.
was a lot of fun. Really love that game. Want to play more. Going to play more eventually. But really great game. Cannot say more good things about it. What else did I play? I played. Let's focus on like things that are not Dead by Daylight. So I played Dark Deity, which is a indie game on Steam. It's kind of like a copy of Fire Emblem. That's not Fire Emblem.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much the exact same as Fire Emblem, but not. It's okay. It itches the Fire Emblem itch, and that's about it.
Okay.
I can't say that.
I think there's a cream for that if you're having that issue.
It's not the best writing. It's not the most the characters are pretty one note. Like I can't say that the story's engaging. But I like Fire Emblem style games and I like that type of strategy stuff, so I'm with it. It's good. I play it from time to time. And then Josh's favorite genre, Among Us style games. I played some Goose Goose Duck yesterday, which is an Among Us style game where everyone is gooses and the killers are ducks. And unlike Among Us, everyone has a role. So it's more like Town of Salem than Among Us. It's like Town of Salem meets Among Us in that sense. There's basically every mod you can think of for Among Us is already in Goose Goose Duck. It's free to play.
Whoa.
There's proximity chat that works really well. There's hide and go seek modes. There's a Halloween mode for it. You can play it on mobile. Basically, it's better Among Us, and you get to play as Goose,
And it's
which
free.
are kind of cute.
I
And it's
love
free.
being Goose.
Yeah, it's great. There's skins in the game that you can earn with in-game currency that you earn. There's achievements. There's pets that modify how many coins you get. All in all, it's a really fun game. And if you like Among Us but want something that's not Among Us, I would say that is a good alternative, if not better alternative than Among Us.
So do they sell that in-game currency too? Is that how they're making some money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You can buy in-game currency or you can just earn it.
Okay. Cool.
Granted, earning it is very slow because it's based on achievements, and then certain items in the store you can actually craft.
Wow.
There's a crafting system in it. Basically, as you do tasks on certain maps, you have a chance of finding an item that you can then craft into like a skin or a kill animation or something.
That's cool.
Also, all the goose can fart.
All right. Well,
Naturally.
I'm sold. All right.
Yep, that's it. Purchase made.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's free.
That is the magic word.
And then I played some Potion Craft just on my own because I wanted something to relax to. The full release is just as good as when I play tested it. there's still some things missing that say that this game is still in development, so they'll be coming later. But it's good. I like it. It's a fun little puzzle game. It's a weird puzzle game. It's like an exploration game, but in puzzle form. Big fan, and also love chemical stuff. So yeah, like to see it in games. And then not on Steam, I finished Miles Morales last week. For the first time because I bought it and then didn't play it.
Somehow, I don't understand that.
I started it and got to where you meet his friends and said, "Yeah, I don't care about any of these characters." And
what? That was a good bit. You're crazy.
I'm sorry, I just don't like
Genki. It's a good
Genki's
time.
fine.
Genki's great.
Fine. I like Genki. I don't even remember her name.
Finn.
Yes, Finn. Finn, I don't care for. She's underdeveloped as a best friend character, and that's disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I finished it. My only critique of the game is the last boss fight is way too long. It did not need 4 phases. It needed 3 at most, if not 2. And yeah, I guess the story is fine. I didn't have any issues with it. If you took the gameplay of this one, which felt very crisp, very cleaned up, very I don't know, just felt good to play, and mixed it with...
Felt good to play, you say. How was the DualSense?
I didn't notice it.
Apparently they didn't really take good advantage of it from what I
the biggest thing no, they did, but the biggest thing that I noticed from it is that my controller was louder than my TV. So
like the audio?
Yeah.
Okay. What do they use, like, I don't know what his gadget is called, but when he has people calling him,
when you do your web shooters, it makes sounds out of the controller.
That's interesting.
And those sounds were louder than my TV because I don't have my TV volume that loud to begin with. But yeah, my friend was over and he's just like, "Why is your controller louder than the TV?" And I'm just like, DualSense. Yeah,
I think you can turn that volume down. I think.
Yeah, you definitely can, but I just didn't. I didn't care. I will say it doesn't really utilize the DualSense that well.
Like I saw people talking about the idea of using like tensile strength with the triggers, with the swinging, and that didn't really happen. Like that would have been a cool feature.
I feel like that could have been too much, actually. Like
just subtle.
What's the game that I was? Oh yeah, no shoot. What was the game that I was playing where it was too much? It was recent. I think I mentioned it. Yeah, yes, in Kana. Like there are some, I think it is Kana. There are some times where my finger actually started to like get tired because it was like the force against the trigger was so much and so frequent. So as far as the boss battle, the final boss in Spider-Man was really long too. That was a long fight as well.
Yep.
Yeah, but if I'm remembering the final boss in Spider-Man PS4, which I don't think we worry about spoilers. That game's old. At this point,
3 years.
It's pretty obvious too. Like
you fight him on top of a building, right?
It starts off
down the building. The phases
then you're like going down the side of the building.
Yeah. So with that, the phases are at least different. Which
this is the same.
Where it felt like
you're in the same space in Miles Morales, but it just kind of ramps up the difficulty. Not even really. It just ramps up, like it changes the style of fighting a little bit. Not really.
Yeah, the villain gets different attacks.
Yeah,
but like that's it. The environment gets more destroyed, but that's it. Like it really.
I think a lot of the benefit is like, look at Miles has these cool electric powers, and you can get more destructive and stuff than Peter. Let's just like give you a long fight to get weird with it. And it's okay, I guess so, but it gets a little running on.
That weird fight that long fight to get weird with it just resulted in me waiting until my Venom was fully charged and then exploding on them and phasing the fight because that's what the ability does. It was just a disappointing. It was tedious. When a boss fight gets tedious, that's when I start getting worried about it. But like if you took like the story of Spider-Man PS4 and the gameplay of Miles Morales and just made them kiss, perfect game. But It wasn't there. It felt like a micro story in the Spider-Man universe that they're making, and it didn't feel like a fully fledged story, which made sense because Miles Morales, even though he looks 22, is actually in high school. So you want smaller stakes. Was this the smallest of stakes? No. The plot is a little ridiculous for a teenager to be dealing with, but
Yeah.
it's Spider-Man. You're kind of used to that. It's smaller stakes than Spider-Man PS4, at least.
All right.
I think.
Yeah.
Anyth-
Smaller stakes than global pandemic that will kill everyone.
Anything else?
Mhm.
Anything else you played, Mike? Or is that the list for this week?
No, I think that's it.
All right.
I might be playing Humankind this week.
Oh,
Oh,
I have that installed. I might give that a go too because I've been having a Civ craving, but I don't want to play Civ 5 again right now. So I think I might try that.
is that on Game Pass?
Sure is.
Paul, speaking of Game Pass, what did you play this week?
A great question. Well, I actually played something that was not on Game Pass this week. As I mentioned to you earlier on GG Replay, I played Little Hope, finally, the Dark Pictures anthology. Boy, oh boy, I did not like it. I did not like it at
You
all.
didn't like it?
I hate
What
it.
didn't you like?
Well, I tried to get spoilery. I hated the ending twist. I know I understand
Yes.
I understand the emotional resonance that's supposed to come from something like that. But I thought it was the cheapest thing ever and retroactively ruined the game. That would be what I would say if I didn't think the game was boring as fuck. I just thought it already felt like it didn't matter to me. And then when we had our little twist, it really didn't feel like it mattered to me at all. And I was like, wow, that wasn't even that good. I think if the game had ended differently, I will say that I might have retroactively been like, oh, that was kind of interesting because it all led somewhere. But because it didn't, I won't say what it is, but it doesn't really lead anywhere. And so I think that is in a satisfying way based on the content. And I also think that I don't know what to say. I came in. I remember I talked to you recently, Mike, and I said, I didn't really like Man of Medan that much compared to Until Dawn, which I know is not a Dark Pictures anthology game, but there's only so many of them. But looking back after playing Little Hope, I had these like rose-colored glasses for Man of Medan. I miss, you know what it is? I didn't actively, I like fun hated the characters in Man of Medan, like the douchey rich bro dude, Sean Ashmore's guy. I was like, oh fuck that guy, but then he did something kind of clever, and I was like, oh, I'm rooting for him again, and I was rooting for this person, or maybe I kind of hated that person because they're shallow, but at the end I'm kind of like, I don't want them to die. I didn't feel anything for any of these characters. I actively wanted them all to die.
Most of them are not good.
Just their line readings. I'm not an actor, but a lot of the line readings were like you could hear them like saying, "I am going to the bridge." Like they were like there was no inflection. It was very, very stiff, and it made the already kind of boring characters of all of them were kind of like, well, where do we go? Everything was like, it was very much that instead of and then storytelling, it was very much like. So all of a sudden, like now we're gonna. I think every character just felt like they were existed to move the plot along. I don't know. It didn't do it for me. I was kind of disappointed. But that being said, after seeing more stuff about House of Ashes, I almost kind of weirdly still want to give them another shot. I feel like to me, I think they learned their lesson a little bit from what I've seen from like. Have you played it?
No, I haven't, but I highly doubt they have.
I don't know. I saw a lot of, they did an AMA last month and people were kind of talking on their subreddit and people were kind of saying, hey, are you done with this kind of twisting gameplay? And they were kind of like, yeah, we know we don't want our whole brand to be based around that. And we're going to try to move away from that a little bit. And they're like, we want to like, this one is going to be a creature feature and something else is going to be something else. And we want to kind of get away from that. Like we want the first couple to have that kind of twist, but now we're going to move on. So I don't know, but that made me feel maybe like I'll give them another shot, especially because the acting just doesn't seem quite as fucking bad in House of Ashes. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed by that. And again, that was another thing too about Man of Medan. There was a lot of branching storytelling. A lot of people in the AMA are mentioning that too. I kind of again took it for granted, but after playing Little Hope and being on pretty much a linear track, they don't really let you do much besides a couple little changes to where things go. I kind of missed that branching storytelling aspect, which again, they said not every game's going to be branching. Not every game's going to have that kind of twist. That's fine, but then not every game is going to be something I like.
Yeah. I'm skeptical. They've done 2 of those.
And Until Dawn had the same twist as well. So basically,
Well,
still had a twist. Sorry, like a twist.
It had a twist.
So I'm just wondering, like, are they going to be done with twists? I doubt it. But
I doubt they're going to be done with twists. What I want from dark anthologies is to stop trying to explain away the boogeyman and just embrace the boogeyman. Like, just let it be, please. Like,
Which is what they claim is going to be how House of Ashes works. So maybe that might get me back. Might get me back.
I'm gonna like all dark anthology games. I'm just gonna watch a playthrough. I don't play them, but I do enjoy watching them because it's essentially a movie. I'm just skeptical that they're going to actually deliver on a real monster or whatever.
Yeah, I will say Will Poulter was great. I was just reading the Reddit news about how he's going to play Adam Warlock in Guardian of the Galaxy 3 and MCU, and I was like, the kid from from Meet We're the Millers. So it's like, what the hell? And then I looked, and he's English. He's like done. He has like a pretty decent acting pedigree. And then I played House of Ashes. I thought his character was atrocious and like just kind of boring. Like he was just like, oh, I am the hero. But that being said, he was great, especially like with his like English accent, doing his like Yorkshire accent and like the past and everything. Very good. I'm excited. That made me excited. That was my main takeaway. I was like, oh, cool. I'm excited to see this guy as Adam Warlock now. But yeah, that's pretty much my gaming this week. I really didn't do a lot of gaming this week. Mostly just that. Also, I played some more like team fight tactics and stupid crap like that, but nothing nothing exciting. Still can't win.
I think we need to have a Sean Ashmore shout out on every episode now going forward, since it's becoming a consistent theme. So we'll have to come up with next week's Sean Ashmore appearance.
He's great. He's great. A great video game actor. I hope he does more.
So as far as what I played this week, obviously I finished up Far Cry 6. I played to a point where I felt like I could get the review out there. Check out the review. I'm not sure if I'm gonna completely finish the game. I think I'm pretty close, but I don't know if I'm actually going to go all the way. I did the same thing in Far Cry 4. I liked it enough to play it a lot, but I never ended up finishing it, which is unlike Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 5. I finished both of those. I played the shit out of them. I loved those games. But Far Cry 4 and now 6, not sure if I'm going to go all the way. But, you know, it's fun enough to keep playing. I don't know if I'm going to finish the whole thing, though. Back 4 Blood, obviously, we all played that together. Mike so graciously gifted me a Steam copy of the game, since the Xbox Game Pass app is still broken on my PC. But we had a blast. It's just a plain fun game. And I didn't think I would like it. I really didn't, but I do. The gunplay is really satisfying. Shooting zombies just doesn't get old, which is good because there's a shitload of zombies. It feels better than I expected. I remember when I first jumped into Left 4 Dead, and a big reason why I didn't like it was I felt like it just didn't feel satisfying to play. And maybe that was just me at the time. Maybe it is really similar to Back 4 Blood, and I was just wrong, or my tastes have changed. It's been a while since the first Left 4 Dead game. But Back 4 Blood just feels like a pretty good shooter. It's not just like a zombie action game. Like the shooting is really good. So maybe I'm wrong. Mike, can you answer? Like, was Left 4 Dead? Does it definitely feel better than those, or did Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 feel good as well?
I think for the time, Left 4 Dead felt fine. It was the Valve style of shooting, like CS, Counter-Strike, and Half-Life. They didn't have aim down sights, so it's kind of what you expected from Valve.
Yeah.
You didn't expect tight shooting. You expected reticle-based shooting with the recoil making your bullets just spread more.
Okay.
But I'll agree with you that Back 4 Blood feels fantastic shooting wise. I know there is a card in Back 4 Blood that removes your ability to aim down sights. That's like its drawback. I don't remember what its plus is, but you can only hip fire, which would be interesting from a standpoint of, feeling like Left 4 Dead. But Left 4 Dead in itself also just kind of felt like a Gmod type of game, if I'm being honest. It's still fun, but it's very clunky and very, like, I don't know. It's just got a Left 4 Dead feel to it, which is not bad, but it's not great.
That makes sense. We also played Phasmophobia. Paul and I played with Josh and Mike. this time so they could show us how to actually play the game. It was a blast. It was nice being a little bit spooked again playing a video game. It's been a little while. Played on stream at twitch.tv/Goodnight Groofs. So you can follow us over there for when we do stuff like that again in the future. But it was a good time. It's just such a perfect like Halloween season game. It's just so perfect for that. So fun to play. If you have your group of 4, it just makes it so much better. There are scares, but it can also be funny. Like the way the characters move and their animations are hilarious and can make for
when you
some really
look up,
funny things.
your back just fully does like a nice L shape, and you kind of stare at the ceiling with your entire back bent at the waist. That's a good time. That's probably number 1 best feature of the game for sure.
I could see that game being terrifying in VR, but also hilarious, even more funny, but also even more scary. So I would love to someday try that. I don't have any sort of VR system for Steam, but that would be a lot of fun.
Makes me think of some other spooky games that I've played.
Ooh, we might be getting to that right now, Paul. Audience questions. Every week we address 2 or 3 audience questions, comments, or concerns. We take questions from our supporters over on Patreon at patreon.com/goodnightgroofs. Leave your questions in the comments section of the previous episode's post. The $1 tier, just $1 single a month, will get you access to question submissions. We also take submissions at gamegroofs@gmail.com and in the YouTube comments, but our patrons will always receive their due priority. This question comes in from Freddie. Freddie with a Y. Who could this be? What are some
Probably
of...
just Freddy.
Could be. Yeah.
Sorry, Freddie is giving it away. Let me try F. Kruger.
F. Kruger. There you go. What are some of the spookiest games that you have ever played? I'm going to go to Mike first because I feel like he has something top of mind already.
Well, Visage. I've talked about it already. It's Visage. It's always going to be Visage.
So
nothing is scary after Visage.
So that's number 1. What in the past, what other spooky games have you encountered?
I wouldn't say it's spooky, but like I refuse to play like FNAF because I hate jump scares, and that's all that game is. It's not for me. Right now I'm running a charity thing for October, and if they get to my last stretch goal, then I'll play FNAF, and I'm like, just don't just don't make me do this.
No one's gonna enjoy this.
It took me until the end to realize that that's Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I am excited for Security Breach. I think it's different enough from the regular Five Nights at Freddy's that like it's not just going to be jump scares. But yeah, I would put that on the list as just games I think I would avoid. But for like atmospheric spookiness, I don't know. Phasmo was pretty scary when I first played it. It lost its edge a little bit last year after playing it for so long. But then this year it's back on par for being kind of spooky. I think that's really it. Most of the games I play aren't scary because I like horror, but I also don't like horror. I like the idea of horror until I start doing it and wuss out. I think that's really it. Mainly just Visage. That game's horrifying.
Yeah.
PT's also horrifying. But
PT.
For me, horror games and movies are really exclusive to October just because I feel like specifically with movies, so few horror movies are actually good movies because the horror is the gimmick and the crutch. There are good horror movies. Like, for example, I think The Conjuring is just a really good movie.
I love The Conjuring.
And there are obviously good horror games as well. Like Alien Isolation is a good game, but also there are many that lean on the crutch of jump scares or just, our thing is being scary. We don't care about anything else, I'll go now just because I'm talking. But I think maybe my answer is Slender, the 8 Pages. When that game first came out, it was terrifying. And like the jankiness to it was all like that added to it because it felt like it's the scary. It's sort of like where Paul, what was the the Slender Man
It's on
web
Gmod.
series. No, the Slender Man
Oh, I was gonna say Slender Marble
Marble
Hornets.
Hornets. So there was like the amateur independent nature of that made it scary, just like the
Yeah.
amateur independent nature of this Slender game made that scarier than it would have otherwise been. That's why I felt like the successor, Slender Arrival or something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
wasn't as scary to me personally. But
Too polished.
yeah, too polished. Also, honorable mention: Little Nightmares creeps the shit out of me way
I want to
more
play
than
that
it
so
should.
bad. I wanna play
I
that so bad.
actually I played the first one and I kind of like those kind of games, but I just stopped playing because I'm like, this is just creeping the shit out of me. It's so weird, and it reminds me of like a really creepy, messed up nursery rhyme type of thing, and I just like didn't want any more to do with it. So,
Cool.
Paul, what about you?
Yeah, I have a few. I'll run through kind of quick. There's nothing crazy. I will say Doom 3 comes to mind. I remember those. I don't know if you guys remember 2005, 2004 internet. People were like, there was like that was like a big thing. Reaction videos to people playing Doom. It was like proto Let's Plays. People would like bring their friend over and they'd sit in front of the computer and they couldn't even show what they were seeing on the screen, but they just showed them and they would scream and that was like the gag. But oh my God, Doom 3 was fucking terrifying to me. I remember in the daylight, in my friend's like front room of his house. I think we were like 19. Like the game had been out for years. It was way past. But we downloaded it just as a goof because we were like, oh, I remember all those videos of people being freaked out by Doom 3. And we freaked out. Just the very fact that you have to switch between having your flashlight so you can fucking see what's happening to having your gun to kill what's coming at you was the nervousness of that was so intense, just absolutely so scary, and I could barely get past the dark parts in that game. Really good job, and I mean obviously they've gone a totally different direction. I think with New Doom being more like arcadey and more bright and like these are cool hell visuals, which is awesome. But the Doom 3, at least at the very beginning, all I played was fucking terrifying. Also, shout out to Amnesia. I mean, it's like baby's first horror game, but I get the shit scared out of me playing Amnesia. I never finished it just because it was too scary for me. I know that it gets less scary once you see the monster a bit more. It kind of killed it for me, but that was the thing. I either went from being absolutely terrified to laughing because it was so janky and goofy. So it was hard to like that game's tough for me because once I it's too scary to play, but then if I try to like not be scared of it because I see the creature or whatever, then it becomes too funny to enjoy.
That was
So
part of my
it's like,
problem. Once Amnesia is
yeah,
not scary anymore, it's just
a,
annoying and
it's a
frustrating.
bad game, yeah. So it's like it's not actually, but it's just like I don't the whole gimmick, like you were saying, it's scary, and they do a great job, and they pioneered some interesting mechanics. But that being said, yeah, it was scared me early on. Also, honorable mention too to Gmod Slender, our Slender Man game we used to play, which was your player versus or your what was like what do you call it, asymmetrical PvP. One person would play Slender
Oh
Man, and the
yeah.
rest would you and me and a friend of ours. We used to play that. That thing scared the hell out of me. There was like that one building in the middle with like it's like a bathroom, like a public campground bathroom, and you have to like go through it
Yeah.
and oh my God, like I remember screaming so much playing that game on a call
Is
with you
that
guys.
not
And
the 8 pages?
no, so that's a single player game that you go through and play where you have to collect
Okay,
the eight
so maybe I'm
pages.
thinking of the one that you're talking about then.
Now in the Slender Gmod thing,
I've
you
played
also have to
both,
collect
but
pages, so it's the same thing, but you're
oh,
doing it with
okay.
like other people, and then obviously someone plays Slender, and runs around. So but yeah, that was a lot of fun. Scared the shit out of me. Really good. I like the touch that someone was actually playing Slender Man. I think it was my first experience and one of my still major experiences playing asymmetrical PvP, and it was a lot of fun. And I've yet to play a game where I felt the same. I feel like a lot of their games are a lot more I don't want to say but there's too many mechanics. When I've tried playing like Dead by Daylight and some other games too, it's like I think it's obviously a better game, but I just think all the hook mechanics and the having the ways to win and there's just like a lot more going on that like makes you feel like, oh, I'm playing a game, which is good. That's what they're for. But the Slender thing, it's like, okay, I just have to find these pages, but like who the fuck knows where they are? And that's like literally it. If you get to find the pages and you're being hunted,
Yeah.
and that's it. And I thought that was kind of fun. Now I don't think it's the same replayability, but whew,
I do like the simplicity of that.
I do. And finally, just to round out my list here, spooky VR shit. I barely ever played VR. I've just never had the money to invest, or I just have chose not to invest in it. But I've tested some VR. I had a buddy who had like a Gear VR. Shove your Samsung phone in there. I played this game. I know this sounds like, stupid, but I played this game where you just sat on a couch and there's this like staticky TV, and this little girl is like walking around behind you, walking in front of you. She's standing in the doorway, and then she like comes out of the TV, and there's just a couple other things. Literally nothing, because it was like early VR on like a phone. So you're just like in this room, and you're sitting, and there's a TV, and people just keep coming in and out of it. She keeps coming in and out of the room. That's probably the scariest shit. I'm not like a big little kids are scary guy, but holy fuck, that scared the hell out of me. I had to take it off and be like, nope, like there's no way I'm playing this, because the realism of like they weren't trying to like put you in a world. The game was that you're sitting somewhere and just letting things happen around you, which you're doing in real life too. It made it really scary, weirdly. Yeah, so fuck that shit. I'm never playing that again. I don't even know what it's called, but fucking terrifying.
Yeah, I'm just not even going to touch horror games on VR. I'm not even
No.
going to mess around with that because I know it's just going to be a terrifying experience.
Yeah.
All right, next question. This one comes from Buster. What are your favorite kinds of arcade games to play? I'll go first, give you guys a little time to marinate on your ideas here. I like almost all racing games in an arcade. I'm a big fan of the Cruisin' USA games and the other games in that franchise. That's sort of what I grew up on. That was a big part of the arcade for me growing up. But I also like anytime you can get on like a jet ski or a motorcycle, like they actually have the plastic version of that.
Yep.
I love those kind of games in the arcade. I find and then as far as like light gun games, I find those to be hit or miss. Some are good, some can be really fun,
Unintended.
but they all seem too generous in the aiming. Like they're too easy with as far as most light gun games. So those can be hit or miss. Some are really good, some are just really bad, in my opinion. Paul, what about you?
Driving games, same thing. I love sitting down playing a driving game. I will say my favorite thing is one of those motorcycle games. I haven't been to a lot of my arcade experience that I can remember, like recent history, was like a movie theater or something. We have like a lot of arcades attached to our movie theaters, and so they don't shove in the whole jet ski one, but the motorcycles you'll find in some of them, and that is a blast. And also, yeah, a good driving game. I'm terrible. They always control like shit, and I find that's not always true, but there's a lot that control like shit, or I guess I'm just shitty at them. And so I'm always remembering that thing where like I'm like running, I'm flying into the boards because the controls like are way too loose, and I'm like doing a crazy turn, and then I can feel it going like bum, 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 as I'm like hitting the edge or something. Good times though. I love those games. That's what I gravitate to. I usually wouldn't buy tokens to play a light gun game or Street Fighter or something, but those are good. Also, honorable mention to air hockey. It's not an arcade
Yeah.
game, but a lot of those things have air hockey, and I'll always play a couple rounds of air hockey before a movie starts.
Mike.
I would have to go with DDR
Oh
and
yeah.
House of the Dead.
Ooh, okay.
Both were my go-tos. House of the Dead is the light gun game that is in every arcade, and I think there's like 7 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my go-to, and then me and my sister would play DDR at the arcade when I
Nice.
was in, I don't know, like middle school, I think.
Awesome.
When we went to the arcade on a regular basis.
Sweet.
So
Have you guys
those are my 2.
Have you guys ever been to the, like, sometimes if you go to a really fancy arcade, they have the one where you can make your own roller coaster and then you go into like a virtual version of it. Have you seen that before? I think it was also at
Oh.
Disney for a while.
Yes, actually, you know what? I did this at Disney when I was a kid.
Okay.
But like they had it like that. It doesn't matter, but they had this big thing called like the Horizon, or like it was Disney Quest, and you could
Oh
always
yeah,
like
yeah,
weird,
yeah.
like
It was part of
weird
that.
AR experiences and stuff, and that was where it was.
That
Yeah,
was
that was
really
fun.
cool. Yeah, the old Disney Quest was a really cool place. I'm not really sure.
Cool.
Maybe it was just ahead of its time. I don't know.
It was, and there was a thing about that. I think it was one of those many things that Eisner was super into. I think there was that. I think there was a Defunct Land or something on it that was really interesting. But I think they put one like right in Manhattan, and spent like a fucking ass ton of money on this big building right in like downtown. And it was like a huge waste of money, and like nobody went to it. And then the Florida one I think did a little bit better because people were already in Disney World. But yeah, check that out if you're interested. It was I can't remember, but it was an interesting episode.
I think the one I went to was in Chicago, and this was probably early 2000s. It
Yeah.
was really fun, but I also imagine an issue with that is that technology moves so quickly now that as soon as they get a state of the art thing in there, it's it's outdated in a couple years.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to a relatively new game. This has only showed up one other time in the show. QuickTime Questions. In QuickTime Questions, I ask our panelists a series of sometimes silly, opinion-based questions. They have to give me their first answer that pops into their head as quickly as possible. We're going to cycle through the panelists with different questions, but sometimes I may tell the next panelist the same question, so they better be ready. If they don't give an answer quickly enough, we pass the question off to the next panelist automatically. There are no winners in this game, only losers.
Just like the show.
Just like the show. All right. Ready? Here we go. Paul, what pizza toppings would Waluigi order?
Anchovies.
Mike, what will be Twitch's next slogan? Pass off to Paul.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Come watch Pokimane poop.
Oh, wow. Okay. Paul, what will be Starfield's Metacritic score?
I don't know. 90, 84.
Wow. Okay. Mike, what would be Chef Kirby's signature dish?
Rainbow pizza.
Oh,
Nice.
Paul, who is the next big dev studio to release a massive flop?
Bloober team.
Same question for Mike.
Bethesda.
Mike,
Oh!
Mike, where should Call of Duty go next?
In the garbage.
Paul, why isn't this podcast very popular yet?
It's a combination of marketing and like, it's getting it out there. It's it's a whole thing.
Mike, name your top 3 favorite Sonic characters.
Knuckles, Tails, and Chow the Bunny.
Same question for Paul.
Rouge and her accomplices.
Paul,
Wow. Wow.
Paul, what game should never have been released?
Sonic 06.
Mike, which game franchise should employ voice work from Gilbert Gottfried?
Sonic 06.
All right.
Beautiful.
Let's move on to a special shout out. Each panelist is going to give a special shout out to any video game character of their choice and provide a quick reason why this lucky character is getting this attention. I'll go first. A special shout out to the player characters in Phasmophobia because they would all be Limbo world champions with the way that they can bend backwards. Paul, your special shout out.
Ooh, a special. You know what? Here's the thing. I love my cat, and my cat. I love how much he loves fish, and it reminds me a lot of a cat that likes to fish. Big the cat. Now, and the special shout out is not for him. It's of course for his best friend, Sonic the Hedgehog. Shout out to our boy Sonic the Hedgehog, voiced by Gilbert Gottfried. Voiced by Gilbert Gottfried in the upcoming game. Sonic: The Rise of. Oh.
Mike, your shout out.
My shout out is not Sonic this week, unfortunately. I wish it could be, but I didn't want to steal Paul's thunder. Instead, I'm going to give a special shout out to probably one of the most influential people that I know in game design, Dr. Kawashima.
Mike, you're shouting me out? That's so nice.
Who was that?
Dr. Kawashima.
Oh, who is Dr. Kawashima?
of the Brain Age games.
Oh.
For the great
yeah.
Sudoku games that he
No.
gave me.
Sudoku is getting banned from this show.
No, Sudoku.
Any
beautiful.
references to Sudoku are now illegal on the Game Groups podcast.
Never.
Listen,
Never gonna happen.
Sudoku is an assist trophy in Smash Brothers. It deserves its place on the show.
I think that's the reason that I think Sudoku's big claim to fame is that it's an assist trophy in Smash Brothers. That's really the big thing that they have going for them. This 1,000-year-old game.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the Game Groofs podcast, the all-encompassing gaming podcast from us, the Goodnight Groofs. If you really like the show, we encourage you to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/goodnightgroofs, if I haven't already mentioned it yet, where we currently have 3 tiers available. Any and all support is greatly appreciated and will go a long way in improving everything here at the Goodnight Groofs. The $3 plus tier will get you access to this show, this very show, 2 days early. That means Friday instead of Sunday. A special shout out to all of our patrons currently supporting us in the $5 plus tier, Ishmael S. and Rachel S. A round of applause for them, please.
Love it.
We also ask that you take a couple minutes to drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or leave a like and comment on the YouTube video. Everything helps. Make sure to check out goodnightgroofs.com for all of our content, where you'll find the blog, GG Replay, this podcast, game reviews like the Far Cry one from yesterday, and more coming soon. Guys, any last thoughts?
A little bit of salt on some food, and you can convince your kids to eat anything.
That'll do it for us here today. Gentlemen,
Anything.
thank you for joining me. Take care, everyone.